sorry that they have lost their lives. And Gail's never been anything but good and kind to me.
This woman, Erin Patterson, is saying sorry after poisoning 4 people. On July 29, 2023, Erin hosted a lunch for her ex-in-laws, which already makes things a bit weird. After that meal, 3 people passed away, 1 in critical condition. So what did they eat? Was it a tragic mistake with the wrong ingredients, or something deliberate? Hello and welcome back. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell to stay updated. In this episode, we're heading to Australia, where the wildlife might be dangerous. But if you thought sharks and snakes were scary, wait until you hear what Erin Patterson did. We're off to Leongatha, a small town in Victoria, Australia. About 6,000 people live there, surrounded by farmland, rolling hills, and, let's face it, probably a few sharks hiding somewhere. It's a quiet town, known for its dairy farms and an annual daffodil festival. But this peaceful place was about to get a lot of attention. Now, living in Leongatha was Erin Patterson, a 49-year-old mother of 2. Back in the day, Erin worked as an air traffic controller in Melbourne, a tough, high-pressure job. Later, she switched to accounting, but by 2023, she was a stay-at-home mom. Friends described her as highly intelligent, confident, and not afraid to speak her mind, even argued with her boss. In 2006, Erin married Simon Patterson, an engineer and basketball coach. They had 2 children together, but after 15 years, the marriage ended amicably, or so it seemed. Amicably enough that, on July 29, 2023, Erin invited Simon's parents, Don and Gail Patterson, over for lunch. Joining them were Simon's aunt, Heather Wilkinson, and her husband, Ian. A bit unusual to have your ex's family over for a meal, but maybe that's just how things roll in a small town. The meal served that day was beef Wellington. A classic. Beef, pastry, gravy, what's not to love? Well, it turns out this beef Wellington was a deadly mistake. Shortly after eating, all 4 guests became shockingly ill. The next day, they were rushed to the hospital with severe food poisoning symptoms. Within 6 days, tragedy struck. Don, Gail, and Heather all passed away in the hospital. Ian survived but was left in critical condition, requiring a liver transplant. It took him 2 months to recover before being discharged. Miraculously, Erin was perfectly fine despite claiming she had eaten the same meal. Naturally, detectives were on the case. Suspected food poisoning with multiple deaths, Erin was the obvious person to question. It was her house, her lunch, her beef Wellington. But after an initial search and some questioning, they let her go.
3 people have now died and another is fighting for life after being poisoned by wild mushrooms at a lunch with friends in Gippsland. Homicide detectives are investigating the deaths and have questioned a 48-year-old woman who has now been released.
The only surviving guest was Ian Wilkinson, a beloved local pastor at Coonawarra Baptist Church. Known for his kindness and generosity, Ian was a respected and well-loved member of the community. When news of the tragedy spread, shock and grief rippled through the small town. People demanded answers. How could something like this happen? The culprit were death-cap mushrooms. Death caps tend to grow naturally around oak trees, and there are plenty of them around Erin's house. Death caps are super deadly. Eating just a piece the size of a coin is enough to kill. And the dish served that day was beef Wellington, covered in paste made from mushrooms. Dr. Neumeister Kemp, a mycologist and mushroom expert, said, if it was death caps, you'd need about 10 full mushrooms to get enough paste for a dish like beef Wellington, especially for 5 people. That's quite a bit. The toxin in death caps is no joke. Unlike many venoms or toxins that break down with heat, like snake venom, the death caps toxin is heat stable. Cooking doesn't destroy it. It's also water-soluble, meaning that once the mushroom is in liquid, some of the toxin can leach into other parts of the food. Dr. Michael Robertson, one of Australia's leading forensic toxicologists, explained the chilling nature of this toxin. One of the fascinating and terrifying things about the death cap toxin is the delayed onset. Hours after eating it, you still feel perfectly fine. Then suddenly, it all goes downhill. You might feel fine for 8 to 12 hours after eating one, no big deal, right? But that's only the calm before the storm. When it hits hard. severe nausea, vomiting, and dangerously low blood pressure. Oddly enough, 12 hours later, you'll feel better. You'd think it's over, but you'd be wrong. The real damage starts a day or two later: kidney failure, liver failure, and intense pain as every cell in your liver starts dying. Dr. Neumeister Kemp shook her head and said, "Mushroom poisoning is incredibly nasty. There's no real antidote, no injection to fix this." For the three who died, their final days would have been nothing short of horrific. If they were conscious through it, especially in that first phase, it would have been agonizing. At the center of this tragedy is Erin Patterson, the woman who cooked the meal. According to her, the guests chose their own portions of the beef Wellington, and she also ate a serving. Erin claimed she also experienced bad stomach pains and severe diarrhea, and was hospitalized at Monash Medical Center. She said, "I was put on a saline drip and given medication to protect my liver." Eventually, Erin spoke to the media, tearfully denying any wrongdoing.
Gail was like,
Take your time.
Gail was the mum that I didn't have because my mum passed away 4 years ago. And Gail's never been anything but good and kind to me. And Ian and Heather were some of the best people I've ever met. They never did anything wrong to me, and I'm so devastated about what's happened.
Can you tell us
And
a
the
bit?
loss to the community, and to the families, and to my own children who've lost their grandmother.
According to Erin, the mushrooms came from an Asian store in Melbourne. She said she had no idea they were dangerous and felt horrible about everything that happened.
And you must be pretty shaken up with this as well.
I'm devastated. I love them. And I can't believe that this has happened, and I'm so sorry that they have lost their lives.
How are you
I just can't believe it. Just can't believe it.
For a time, people wondered if it really was just a tragic accident. The police kept her on their suspect list, but no charges were filed right away. Then things changed. Investigators dug deeper into Erin's life and started uncovering details that made them question everything. Turns out, Erin Patterson wasn't exactly the heartbroken, helpless figure she'd been portraying herself as. Erin wasn't just a stay-at-home mom, she was super rich. When both her parents passed away, everything they owned went to Erin and her sister. And everything was no small inheritance. We're talking multiple properties, leaving Erin with a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio. Life-changing money. It didn't seem like Erin had the warmest relationship with her mom. She once texted a friend describing her upbringing as horrible and her mom as a cold robot. She said, "My mom was ultra weird her whole life. We had a horrible upbringing. Mom was essentially a cold robot. It was like being brought up in a Russian orphanage where they don't touch the babies. Dad wanted to be warm and loving to us, but Mom wouldn't let him because it would spoil us, so he did as he was told." Dad was a doormat. But when her mom passed, Erin inherited all that money and prime real estate, giving her plenty of time to explore her hobbies, one of which was foraging. And what's a common find when you're out foraging? Mushrooms. Lots and lots of mushrooms. Erin's home decor was creepy, to say the least. Some of the artwork in her house featured bizarre phrases like "I am dead" and "You're dead from my sword." Maybe it was her, or maybe her kids, but either way, red flags waving all over the place. Despite all of this coming to light, Erin insisted she was innocent, claiming she was grieving too. She repeatedly said she didn't knowingly do anything wrong and felt she was being unfairly painted as a villain. "I'm not an evil witch," she told reporters, tearfully defending herself.
Police say you're a suspect. Do you have anything to say about
Yes,
that?
I say I didn't do anything. I love them. And I'm devastated that they're gone.
Police remained skeptical. More details started to surface. Erin had once been the editor of a newspaper where she allegedly called the locals illiterate bastards. She was also an obsessive true crime fan, which added a little too much irony to this whole story. But then, things took a darker turn. Between 2021 and 2022, police believed Erin had tried to kill her then-husband, Simon Patterson, 4 times.
Miss Patterson's estranged husband, Simon, was still wearing his wedding ring just weeks ago. But overnight, a bombshell. His former wife had allegedly plotted to kill him a total of 4 times. And she allegedly murdered both his parents, his auntie, and attempted to murder his uncle.
Simon Patterson was hospitalized 3 times with a mysterious illness that nearly killed him. In a Facebook post, Simon recounted the nightmare. Some of you will know that I've had some serious medical problems since late May. I collapsed at home, then was in an induced coma for 16 days, through which I had 3 emergency operations, mainly on my small intestine, plus an additional planned operation. My family were asked to come and say goodbye to me twice, as I was not expected to live. I was in intensive care for 21 days, after which I was in a general ward for a week, and now I'm at the rehab place since last Saturday. I'm pleased to say all the medical work has seemed to have fixed the serious gut problems I had. I feel no pain, and it all seems to have no impact on my personality, character, or anything else much. I have a big scar on my tummy which is healing itself slowly, and I have ICU-acquired weakness, which is a common condition that people who lie in intensive care for a long time, as I did. The cause? Something he ate, perhaps? Simon suspected as much. He voiced his concerns, but many dismissed him, saying he was just bitter about the looming divorce. But now it seemed Simon's instincts had been right all along. Here is another twist. Simon was supposed to attend the lunch that day. However, just hours before the lunch, he called and said he wouldn't be coming, a last-minute decision that may have saved his life. Oh, and about her kids? Conveniently, Erin sent them to the mall during the lunch. Later that day, she fed them the leftovers, but scraped off the mushroom paste because her children hated it. Miraculously, the kids were perfectly fine. On July 30th, 2023, Erin and her kids went to visit the 4 victims in the hospital. Her ex-husband Simon mentioned the food dehydrator and allegedly asked, "Is that what you used to poison them?" Food dehydrator is a device often used to dry fruit, vegetables, and mushrooms. Initially, Erin told police she had disposed of the dehydrator a long time ago. Later, she admitted she had dumped it after the lunch in a panic, saying, "I rushed home from the hospital to get rid of it, thinking it wouldn't look good if they found it." Why? Because she feared losing custody of her children. Luckily, police were able to retrieve the food dehydrator, and it became the key piece of evidence. According to mushroom expert Dr. Neumeister Kemp, drying mushrooms intensifies their toxic properties. When you dehydrate them, the water content disappears, but the toxin stays, becoming more concentrated. The doctor said, if that food dehydrator was used to dry death caps, there would likely be spores or remnants inside that could be detected through DNA testing. Even small traces would leave an imprint. When reporters later questioned her outside her home, Erin snapped,
And I'm breathing too, and you guys don't have any respect for that. You don't have permission to be on my private property or to harass me. This kind of behaviour will send someone to drive off a bridge.
Erin, how are you going? Are you okay?
I'm going for asking, and you guys aren't helping.
By September 28th, months after the fatal lunch, mushroom poisoning was officially confirmed as the cause of death. Erin doubled down on her claim that she bought the mushrooms at an Asian grocery store, but later she said it was actually a mix of mushrooms from 2 different stores, though she couldn't recall which ones. However, all local Asian grocers denied ever having issues with their mushrooms. Then Australia's Department of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Forestry came forward. A spokesman confirmed there's no record of death cap mushrooms ever being imported into Australia. He said, "The mushroom industry here is heavily regulated, double-checked and triple-checked to prevent exactly this sort of thing from happening." Then came the bombshell. On November 2nd, 2023, Erin Patterson was arrested.
This morning, detectives arrested a 49-year-old female in relation to this incident, and a search warrant was subsequently executed at her residential address. This search is currently ongoing, and we are being assisted by the AFP's technology detector dogs. I think it's particularly important that we keep in mind that at the heart of this, 3 people have lost their lives. These are 3 people who, by all accounts, were much beloved in their communities and are greatly missed by their loved ones.
Erin Patterson was charged with 3 counts of murder and 5 counts of attempted murder. The murder charges were for her former in-laws, Don and Gail Patterson, and Gail's sister, Heather Wilkinson. The attempted murder charges included 4 alleged attempts on her ex-husband's life, plus the near-fatal poisoning of Ian Wilkinson, who survived 7 weeks in the hospital, most of it in a coma, before being released.
Erin Patterson, stay-at-home mum, and now an accused triple murderer. How's your client doing in custody?
She's good, thanks. I've just got to get through.
Police weren't taking any chances. Specialist dogs, trained to sniff out electronic devices like hidden phones, laptops, SIM cards, and USB drives, were brought in to search Erin's house. Detectives were determined to find anything they could that might reveal Erin's true intentions. If they brought in those tech-sniffing dogs, you know they must have found some incriminating stuff. That's probably why it took the police so long to charge her. They were wrapping everything up in a nice, neat bow before they made their move. Maybe they tracked her phone and followed her movements into the bush, right to a patch of death-cap mushrooms growing in the wild. Or maybe they found something in her search history. How to prepare death-cap mushrooms. How long does it take for someone to die from poisoning? If she's guilty, this was not a spur-of-the-moment mistake. But here's a theory. What if Erin didn't actually mean to kill anyone? What if her goal wasn't death but just to make everyone very sick, especially her husband who was supposed to be at that lunch? Think about it. Simon had been hospitalized 3 times before with mystery illnesses. Maybe she wanted the same thing to happen again. She poisons them just enough to make them violently ill, then swoops in like Nurse Erin, the devoted angel at their bedside, nursing them back to health. How could he not fall back in love with her after that? She's the hero, right? The one who saved him. Maybe that was her plan all along. Maybe the previous poisonings were her way of keeping him close whenever it looked like he was about to leave. And every time the marriage was on the brink, boom, another trip to the hospital, another chance for Erin to play the savior. But despite all her efforts, the marriage eventually ended. So, with one last trick up her sleeve, she invited the family to lunch. Simon was supposed to be there too. If he had shown up that day, it might have been 5 deaths instead of 3. Talk about feeding around and finding out. Fast forward to early November 2023. Erin Patterson finally faced the courts, charged with 3 counts of murder and 5 counts of attempted murder. But the prosecution wasn't ready to proceed yet. They need time to analyze the computer materials seized from her home. Meanwhile, Erin Patterson is being held in a protected unit at the Dame Phyllis Frost Center, a maximum security women's prison. She has been transferred to a protected wing of the prison due to concerns for her safety. In this protected unit, Erin has access to a private bathroom, and intriguingly, a kitchen where she can cook her own meals. According to insiders, the kitchen allows her access to basic ingredients like steak, vegetables, salad, and potentially mushrooms. Hopefully, her new cellmates will trust her culinary skills. And that is the story of the mushroom maiden Erin Patterson, who allegedly killed 3 people, tried to kill 2 more, and all because her ex-husband wouldn't take her back. Maybe when the trial starts, we'll learn this was all a tragic accident and she'll walk free. Or maybe she'll get a lesser charge, like manslaughter. Or she's exactly what the prosecution claims, a sadistic, serial killer wannabe who poisoned 3 people at lunch and then cried crocodile tears to the media. The thing is, for someone as smart as people described her, she wasn't that smart. Did she really think no one would figure out the source of the poisoning? That it wouldn't look suspicious? If she planned this, she wasn't very good at it. This was some very bad murder planning. Whatever the truth is, it's psycho behavior. No question about that. Let's see what the trial cooks up. And that brings us to the end of this episode. Please share your thoughts in the comments. If there's a case you're interested in, let us know. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until then, take care of each other, be careful with your mushrooms, and remember, if you don't know what it is, don't eat it.